Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the seriously detailed history of Tesla. We're going to chronicle exactly how a pretty risky 2003 startup managed to basically force the entire legacy automotive industry to pivot. It's just this incredible story of ambition, engineering, and honestly sheer audacity.
To understand how on earth they reached a trillion-dollar valuation, we'll follow this roadmap. We'll start with the electric startup days, move into shifting the paradigm, surviving production hell, rewriting automotive rules, and finally becoming a trillion-dollar giant.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the electric startup. The literal spark that started a revolution right in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Looking back, it is wild how fast things actually moved in those early days. The company was incorporated in 2003 by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Then, the very next year, in 2004, Elon Musk stepped in and led a $7.5 million Series A funding round using his own capital, money he got from selling PayPal. Fast forward just 4 years to 2008, and we hit two massive milestones. The very first Roadster rolls out of all places, a former Chevy dealership in Menlo Park, and Musk officially takes the reins as CEO.
Now, the absolutely crucial thing to understand about these early years is their foundational vision. The founders made it super clear. They didn't just want to build cars. They wanted to build, quote, a car manufacturer that is also a technology company. From day one, their whole focus was on the battery, the computer software, and the proprietary motor. They were thinking exactly like a Silicon Valley tech firm, totally reimagining the car as essentially a computer on wheels, not just another Detroit automaker.
Moving right along to Section 2, shifting the paradigm. Tesla had to figure out how to change the way the entire world views electric vehicles.
You gotta remember, before Tesla, EVs were, well, they were kind of dismissed, right? People saw them as slow, quirky little commuter cars with terrible range that really only appealed to hardcore environmentalists. But then, bam, Tesla introduces the Model S. Suddenly you have this EV with incredibly sleek styling, instant torque giving it literal sports car acceleration, and a totally realistic range of over 300 miles. They proved without a doubt that you didn't have to compromise on fun or function to go zero emissions. It changed public perception basically overnight.
But as you can imagine, building the Model S required a mountain of cash. To make it a reality, they secured a massive $465 million government loan from the Department of Energy back in 2010. And here's the crazy part. Something virtually unheard of in the traditional auto industry, they actually paid this strategic $500 million loan off entirely 9 whole years early. Incredible.
So armed with that capital, plus an IPO in 2010 that raised another $226 million, they started making some huge strategic moves. They scooped up the massive NUMMI plant in Fremont, California from Toyota for what was an absolute steal at $42 million. That factory let them scale up the Model S, which, by the way, went on to win the 2013 Motor Trend Car of the Year. And that massive success, it paved the exact path for them to launch their luxury SUV, the Model X, in 2015.
Okay, let's get into Section 3, surviving production hell. Scaling up to the mass market. Because pumping out luxury cars in low volumes was basically just a warm-up. The consumer demand was just totally unprecedented. When Tesla unveiled the more affordable Model 3, they got a staggering 325,000 paid reservations in a single week. Think about that. People were handing over $1,000 each for a car they wouldn't even see for over a year. That basically handed the company over $400 million in free capital right when they needed it to fund their R&D and factory construction. But to actually build these cars and, not go bankrupt, Tesla had to master what's known as the scale curve. It's a financial concept where every time you double your unit volume, your production cost per vehicle drops by roughly 20%. Analysts figured if Tesla could just hit a volume of 275,000 units, they'd finally break even. Anything past that massive number? Pure, significant profit.
Getting there, though? Brutal. It required some intensely aggressive leadership. During this phase, Elon Musk was famous for setting what he straight up called impossible deadlines. To quote him directly, "It is not a date that will actually be met, it is an impossible date, but a date we need to hold suppliers to." He was purposely setting dates that literally could not be met, just to push his internal teams and all their external suppliers to the absolute breaking point. It was a hugely chaotic time, relying heavily on automation that sometimes actually slowed them down, but they eventually pushed through.
Which brings us to Section 4, rewriting automotive rules. This is where we see how Tesla abandoned pretty much every industry norm out there.
Look, the traditional auto industry usually outsources around 80% of its components to third-party suppliers. Tesla completely flipped the script. They achieved nearly 80% vertical integration. That means they develop and build the truly critical stuff, like their batteries, their software, and their motors, completely in-house.
Their entire approach was just radical across the board. Instead of haggling at franchise dealerships, you just buy a Tesla directly online. Instead of taking your car to a service center for every little software bug, they treat it like your smartphone, beaming over-the-air updates to fix things or even improve performance overnight. And to cure that classic range anxiety, they didn't wait around for the government to build chargers. They just went out and built their own massive proprietary Supercharger network.
To fuel all this vertical integration and hypergrowth, they pioneered the concept of the Gigafactory. These aren't your typical assembly plants. We're talking colossal, highly integrated facilities spread across Nevada, Texas, China, and Germany, designed to crank out batteries and vehicles at a global scale we've literally never seen before. Get this, the Nevada factory was designed to produce more lithium-ion batteries in 1 year than the entire world's produced in 2013.
And they didn't stop at just building factories. They pushed vehicle capabilities into the future, bringing advanced driver assistance right to the forefront with autopilot. Because they view their cars as evolving pieces of tech, there's this grand vision that one day, these cars might join a fully autonomous shared fleet, a robo-taxi network. Plus, they're aggressively expanding into stationary energy storage for homes and the grid with their Powerwall and PowerPack systems. Essentially, the vision is turning your driveway into a mini power plant and a taxi service that makes you money while you sleep.
Finally, we reach Section 5, trillion-dollar giant, the absolute apex of their disruption.
By late 2021, having survived production hell and completely fueled by the global sales explosion of the Model 3 and their new crossover, the Model Y, Tesla did the unthinkable. They became only the 6th U.S. company in history to cross the $1 trillion market capitalization line. Boom!
And honestly, their dominance wasn't just a stock market fantasy. In early 2023, they hit a real-world automotive milestone that is just staggering. Actually, scratch that, they didn't just build the best-selling electric car. The Model Y became the best-selling car in the entire world, period, across all categories, gas or electric.
Now, to be completely fair, you can't scale that fast without some serious friction, and Tesla has faced a lot of it. The scrutiny has been intense. We're talking federal investigations and SEC fines over Elon Musk's funding-secured tweets. They're dealing with ongoing safety probes and lawsuits related to autopilot crashes. On top of that, there are constant labor and unionization disputes, massive vehicle recalls to fix safety defects, and big, ongoing battles with their own consumers over right-to-repair laws.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, here's the final, provocative thought we want to leave you with. As the massive legacy auto industry finally wakes up and shifts gears to phase out gas engines entirely, will Tesla be able to maintain its crown? Or will the sheer weight of its own controversies, combined with the manufacturing muscle of traditional automakers, finally allow the competition to catch up? It's going to be an absolutely fascinating space to watch. Thanks for joining me today, and keep learning.